Adam Gray is live right now.
He feels rather dead, actually. But
that I have to say, you can probably tell by the t-shirt, that this is a very exciting week for me because this is the band that I would love to be in.
Oh right,
yeah, this is the band. I never let the cat out the bag. This is my favorite musical artist ever of all time. Currently, I absolutely freaking adore this band. It could have been any of the albums. I'm a huge fan. I have the t-shirts. I have the vinyl. I have the concert stuff.
You've been there, got the t-shirt.
Got the ticket. No, got the t-shirt. And this is the band. I'd like to be standing next to Josh Homme in his band playing bass. Oh, yes. Thank you. I'll have some of that. So I'm very excited because to be playing this little excerpt on this show like this means a lot to me. It gives me a shiver. It's one of the coolest entrances I think we've had to the show. There you go. I'm saying it. I'm putting it out there. Done.
Nice. So we don't know Andrew is the.
I'm on the fence.
Yeah. he hasn't told us yet.
No. So we literally 2 weeks ago, because we had a break, because I was away with the lovely.
We were on a break.
We were on a break. So 2 weeks ago, I said, "Could we do Like Clockwork?" So, and we haven't spoken an iota. We haven't breathed a word of this to each other.
No.
Good week or bad week or 2 weeks?
So it's worth putting this in context. I had heard the name Queens of the Stone Age. I had not knowingly listened to any of their music. So this was a new experience for me. And, you know, that has played out simultaneously. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, good point. That has played out for you saying, here's my heart on a plate. We've had Radiohead, OK Computer. And honestly, I'm surprised I've got fingernails left because you could pull them out. That would have been more pleasurable. And at the other end, we've got Hejira, where I've come on and I've gone, oh my God, this is a moon landing.
Yeah.
So with this album, it's a winner. Absolutely magnificent week. It was fantastic. And you know that I have a bit of a...
I was really nervous about this one.
So you know that there are some things that we're like, Gone to Earth. Oh my God, fantastic album. And you and I were chatting and I said something about Dallas Carr and you went, Dallas Carr. Oh my God, yeah. You know,
love them. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a bit like that. It's niche. It's deep.
Yeah.
It's clever.
Yeah.
It's and because it's not like loads of other stuff, it's simultaneously like loads of other stuff. And you go through it and you go, oh, that sounds a bit like.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. What can I say? Thank you. Thank you.
The word there. I said this to a mate of mine who's a huge Quatsa fan, Queens of the Stone Age, and he went, "That's it. Josh Homme makes clever rock music. Clever rock. Now you sound a bit poncy when you say that. What you're saying, like Black Sabbath isn't clever? No, he's into amazing stuff about him. He's a very talented musician, producer, songwriter, the whole lot. As proficient on the drums as he is on the bass, on the keyboard, on the guitar, and a great singing voice too. But he's got this thing, like he listens to Baroque music. And he's got this thing. There's a brilliant. I'll send you the link on YouTube. I'll maybe put it in the chat here, where he's sitting with a guy who's from a guitar magazine, doing a little bit of thing about yeah, very good poker face, about how he plays guitar, and they're riffing, and he says, "You've got a style about you. The way you play a guitar solo is like no one else. It's kind of different." He says, "Yeah, I've got this thing in my mind. Like whenever I play a solo or I create a solo for a tune, I kind of feel that I'm," and he says, and this is going to sound horrendous, "I kind of feel as if I'm in a court to a baroque lady, and I'm going over to her and bowing with my solo, and she's accepting the solo and bowing away." And you're like, but you're a metal guitarist. He's so much more. He's a talented boy.
Yeah,
I am chuffed.
And I think that comes out because there are musicians who are chancers, who have stumbled into it and have kind of made good. And it doesn't mean that they're not good music. So maybe an example of that would be Take That. You know, Gary Barlow, fantastic songwriter, and
Amazing.
Not a bad pianist. A band of people around him who started off mostly dancing, and then actually they grew into the role and became the biggest boy band in the world. And then they all learned to play instruments so that they could be a proper band on stage.
Yeah.
So they fell into it. And there are other musicians like Prince or Stevie Wonder, where basically everything they touch, they can make music from. And Paul McCartney would be another one. I'm not a Paul McCartney fan, but you know, he plays the piano quite well, and he plays the bass quite well, and he plays the guitar quite well, and he sings quite well, and he writes songs reasonably well, allegedly.
No one knows. What a brilliant track from Songs for the Deaf, one of their earlier albums. Yeah, brilliant.
So I'm
thrilled.
I love it, mate. Absolutely love it. I'm thrilled.
Holy moly! So this is the sixth studio album by Queens of the Stone Age, or Quatza as they're known by some people. Came out on June the 3rd, 2013. Now I know that you tend to circle back and do a bit of chronology. Yeah, there will be a Caius discussion at some point. I don't know who that is. Who are you, LinkedIn user? Because that's a significant part of Josh's history. But we'll come back to that. This is about this album today, but we'll get there. So what's your 2013 learnings?
Yeah, well, obviously it's not that long ago. So the memories of what was going on are still reasonably kind of clear in our minds. So some interesting things that happened. Andy Murray, who we mentioned earlier, actually, on our last one, where you said when he wins, he's British. When he loses, he's Scottish. Andy Murray wins Wimbledon for the first time. Margaret Thatcher died. I was, at the time, I was quite a big Margaret Thatcher fan. Not so much anymore, having gone way left of centre.
You have?
But lots of people were tweeting, and this is incredibly bad form. Lots of people were tweeting "ding dong" when she died, which I thought was just massively inappropriate. Yeah. The UK was downgraded from AAA credit rating that year. Legalized gay marriage vote happened, and it later became law that year. And it was, and I think we mentioned this down the week, and it was passed by 400 to 175 votes. Now, the amazing thing there is, A, it happened so recently, and B, 175 people were still voting against it, which I think is just horrendous. Deaths: Mel Smith, David Frost, Peter O'Toole, Ronnie Biggs, and his evil twin, Margaret Thatcher. And no notable births, really, because they're still babies, aren't they?
Of course, the little babas. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is this the newest album we've done?
Yeah, by quite some margin.
Yeah, we're always kind of around the 90s, or we've gone as far back as the 70s. But yeah, absolutely. Just a quick note to LinkedIn user Thomas H. O'Brien. It might be that you're on your phone sometimes, Thomas, and it also might be that your LinkedIn account is in private mode if you're using it from your laptop. We've found that that's a thing as well. It's sometimes maybe that you just need to clear the cache memory as well. There's a couple of things that will help you there and get your name back up on your account. So yeah, 2013 came out. This is their sixth studio album. They're really finding their groove by this point.
Interestingly, I read that they hadn't done an album before this for 6 years. So quite a long break before.
Long break, super long break. Absolutely, I think people got into Queens of the Stone Age really quickly. They were an answer to a lot of questions at the time musically, where people were like, "Oh, I don't want to listen to grunge. I don't want to listen to metal." And they came out with a new, clear sound, and people went, "Ooh, I like that." So they boosted fairly early, toured a lot. They got exhausted, and they came back to make this album. Self-produced by the band, although there's a story around that, and Josh Homme has documented it on YouTube many times, where they brought in the amazing Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, amazing multi-instrumentalist, amazing musician and songwriter himself. Maybe we'll do a Nine Inch Nails album on this show one day. And Trent Reznor had a breakdown halfway through.
Yes, I remember you saying about this in the bit after when we did the last album, and you said he had a breakdown halfway through, so they had to find another way to
absolutely. There were band firings during the making of this. Joey Castillo departed halfway through making the album. Josh Homme got to the point where he said, "I'm having a breakdown myself about this because we're putting so much money and time into this," in his big recording studio out in the desert. And he said, everything's falling apart. I don't think we'll ever get there. They finally got to the point where it all started to come together, and they got some of a semblance of order, and they made this album. And critics, it received really good critical acclaim and commercial success, reaching number 2 in the UK album charts and number 1 in the Billboard 200, making it the first Queens of the Stone Age album to top the charts in the United States. The album was nominated for 3 Grammys, including Best Rock Album. It received really interesting critical acclaim. It got 5 stars from, where was that from? According to Metacritic, it got 5 stars. It got an 82 out of 100. Someone, Thomas Erlewine of AllMusic, commented that Like Clockwork is unusually focused for Queens of the Stone Age, containing all the group's hallmarks, namely volume and crunch, but also a tantalizing sense of danger, finding seduction within the darkness, which had been explored a little bit in their previous Era Vogalis and Songs for the Death and all of that, but really, really came into its own on this album. Won a bunch of awards, too many to mention. You can look them up if you want, and it did pretty well commercially too. It's nice to see when they got into problems with personnel, he called back into his friends group. Josh Homme and Dave Grohl are like that, so we see Dave Grohl on this album, drums and percussion on tracks 4, 5, 7, and 9. Nick Olivieri, who'd been fired from the band in a very public dispute. Nick Olivieri was arrested for the bass player, and the famous video for No One Knows, he's standing there with no top on, and there's that amazing bass solo, and he got a bit allegedly heavy-handed with his wife, so Josh Homme knocked him out and fired him.
Good.
Nobody in my band. Yeah, no one in my band's going to be doing that. We see Mark Lanigan, who unfortunately died a couple of weeks ago from Screaming Trees. Trent Reznor is here. Jake Shears from Scissor Sisters is here. Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys is here. Sir Elton John is here. A really interesting thing, though, Jake Shears, Trent Reznor, Mark Lanigan, Nick Olivieri, Dave Grohl, and Sir Elton John, you would think, and he's spoken about this as well, he said, if we're going to have guests on our tracks, I want them just to be in the song. I don't want to be like, take it away, Elton, and make a big feature of it. So you could be forgiven for going, right, Elton John's on Fair Weather Friends. It's hard to find him, but his keyboard's there and his voice is there, but it's kind of just blended in. Jake Shears is the same. Yeah, great. So that's it. I'm going to shut up now.
No, I don't think you should. I think it's really interesting. And I think that you said about them being a very talented bunch. And I think that often the people that are associated or wish to be associated with a group or an individual often is a good barometer for how good or bad they are. Mm-hmm. Because Elton John, for all of his undildanding and the jokes around his more recent performances, the fact remains that when I phone him up and say, Elton, do you want to be on my album? Elton, oh, we got cut off. And actually he's got a who's who of great musicians involved in this, hasn't he?
And it goes one better because that request happened in reverse.
Oh, wow. So Elton John approached him and said...
Elton John phoned Josh Homme, and the famous conversation, which Josh Homme says it's really funny, that made him fall over was, it's about time you had some proper Queens in your band.
Nice.
Yeah, which is really funny. And he arrived for the recording in a studio and thought he was going to get a ballad because he's Elton John, and they said, no, we want you on a real ripper rock and roller. Fair Weather Friends is an absolute, all out rock song, and he's like, no problem, run it through once with me.
He remembers when life was young, doesn't he?
With him and Susie.
You remember it as well.
Having so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this in case people get upset with my t-shirt and don't like that. So I'm just going to do this just now and give you a kind of funnier angle there. Think anybody? No one will get offended by that. It's just a finger. That's all. That's all it is. I'll pull it down here.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
We can blur it out in post production anyway, can't we?
So we can. Would you like to? Should we crack on?
Yeah, we should. I thought. So I'm listening to this as a Queens of the Stone Age virgin, and I've listened to it, and I've thought to myself, this sounds not all the way through, but in places, this is clearly instrumental music to a fantastic film. Incidental music,
yeah.
You know, so it's kind of the opening. You know, it's somebody walks into a bar and the music stops, and you know everyone's kind of looking at them. You know, it's got that sort of feel to it. Very, very evocative, and it's not often that I get sort of strong, really strong feelings like that.
Right. Yeah. Cool. I love it. So yeah, I'd never thought of this album as being like that. I do. There are some albums where I do think like that, but I'm going to listen for that the next time I listen to this. So the first track is sludgy. It's someone described it as a molten tar pit. So they set this bass of really sort of like thick.
And it's great the way the guitar comes in, and it's a strong dissonance with the bass line that's already been established here.
Yeah.
Just really interesting what's going on. And Sting, who we covered previously, he said one of the things that he's looking for is to be surprised by music. And this surprised me. You know, from the first two bars, I was like, ooh.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not the normal rubbish.
Not the normal rubbish. Jake Shears from the Scissor Sisters in the background and backing vocals. Opening track, Keep Your Eyes Peeled. Intimidating bass, right? Oh yeah. Correct. Puts a marker down. This is different. If life is but a dream, wake me.
Yeah, it really clever stuff, and I love the fact that so often although I said, you know, there are elements of it sounds a bit like, and it sounds a bit like, you know, you get the impression that this is something which is original and breaking new ground. You know, very different from what else, like you said, this is very much a counterpoint to all of the normal stuff that was going on at this sort of time.
Yeah, they're super clever, and they're taking the whole idea of, I mean, essentially they would call themselves a rock and roll band themselves, but you and I both know, and the fans know, this is not just your sort of like guitar, bass, drums ripping through rock and roll, traditional rock and roll. It's clever. They'll go off on a tangent in the middle of a song, but bring it back beautifully. Yeah. He's quite happy with talking about vulnerability and talking about and going up and in a sort of falsetto and sort of flying about there for a little while, and then coming straight back into a headbanger. Very clever. So
yeah, and some really interesting and very evocative poetic lyrics. So ominously blue. I mean, quite an articulate lyricist. So ominously blue. I daydream until all the blue is gone. You know, it's things like that are just really kind of
You're quite, this is quite clever. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This isn't normal. Yeah, absolutely. So a great melodic start, because like every Queens of the Stone Age song, you think, okay, they're starting off with a 4-bar rocker. Here we go, and then it'll blossom into something completely different, and then circle back. This is a cracker. It puts a marker down, as Grant said. Great way to start with a challenging. Oh, what's this? And it certainly picked your ears up, which is great.
A great first track and a great intro into an album, and I think it's that kind of arrest the listener and make them pay attention. And I think what's interesting is that lots of tracks are very different.
Yeah,
so often within an album, it's got the same sort of texture and the same sort of feel from track to track, and that's certainly not the case here.
Yeah, totally. So that takes us on to the next track, which is a track that starts with a classic Queens of the Stone Age sound and a slide guitar intro dropped into the whole thing.
I thought this was definitely Arctic Monkeys kind of flavour to it. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, we get straight into I Sat by the Ocean. I've seen them play this live, and he does that with a what do you call the little slider?
A bottleneck. If it's a glass, it's a bottleneck.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If it's metal, it's a slide.
Well, I think his is metal. But he plays that, and he's so actively involved. He's playing complex guitar rhythms and solos while he's singing.
It's okay. Be stupid, Suzanne. I should be stupid for the whole hour, so don't worry about
it. This is a great live song that they play. Terrific. This is a song that's played.
Whereabouts are they from?
He was born in California in the desert. So right. They've been branded quite a lot because he spent time growing up in the desert, and he actually has based himself back in the desert. The recording studio's in the desert. He's been between Nevada and California, and they've cornered this phrase "desert rock."
Because you see, I think this has got elements of the like an updated version of the '60s surf sound. Yeah. So like Jan and Dean and the Beach Boys
He loves.
Right, that would explain it then.
He loves that. So in the reading that I've done about him and all the interviews, he loves all of that old surf sound. He loved the Beach Boys. He loves ZZ Top.
Right.
He's huge, and it's actually quite funny because Sarah and I'll have a laugh in the car because sometimes he can't hide how much he adores David Bowie. So David Bowie, it's almost like he impersonates him on some because Josh Homme speaks like that. But sometimes he's very English when he's singing.
Yeah, and in fact, I made some notes, and I can't remember which track it was. We'll get to it. Where at one of the points he's singing, and it's like he's doing an impression of Bowie with his he's doing with the voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's.
I wish I was David Bowie.
yeah. There is an element of that going on, isn't there?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. It's sometimes quite funny, but he's made no bones about it. His, for many of the rockers, it was Jimmy Page or Ozzy Osbourne or something. He's a Bowie guy. He loves Zeppelin. He loves all of that, but he's a Bowie man. Absolutely loved it. So this is I Sat by the Ocean, drank a potion, baby, to forget you. It's the second of 3 songs. Feature the new drummer Joey Castillo. Oh, sorry, the old drummer Joey Castillo, who parted ways with the band, unfortunately, during the recording. So he's still on this recording. Sounded quite Bowie-esque, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is how are we doing for time? Sat by, yeah, we should probably crack on. We're doing all right, aren't we?
Look.
Next week's Doyle's Doubles.
David Bowie, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I could pull it off.
Says he, pulling it off seamlessly.
Yeah, absolutely. Next into an interesting song. Very interesting song. Beautiful piano starting this, and then Josh showing his really soft side, singing about vulnerability. I want God to come and take me home, 'cause I'm all alone in this crowd. Who are you to me? Who am I supposed to be? Not exactly sure anymore. Where's this going to? Can I follow through? Or just follow you for a while? Does anyone ever get this right? I feel no love. First time to hear Dave Grohl.
It's got elements of Grace in it, hasn't it, in terms of how he uses his voice?
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yes, kind of. Yeah, Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
The way he's so comfortable down here and way
up
up
in
there,
the higher
and up
registers
there. I think there was some heavy stuff happening in the 6 years it took them to make this, not to make this record, but the 6 years that they took off. And it's the first time, if you listen to the two albums prior to this, very clever, very lyrically clever, but we see a new Josh Homme coming back in here sitting, it's almost like, this is like lovesick confusion.
Been to hell and back.
Does anyone ever get this right?
The line, I survived, I speak, I breathe, I'm incomplete, I'm alive, hooray. It feels kind of a little bit autobiographical about, I've been somewhere bad recently, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, very much so. I think it's coming up right now, that very line. And the guitar solo. I think we might just get it now. Yes, it's coming. Oh, I love this solo. Fabulous. What an unusually fabulous, lovely track to find on a rock album. Just brilliant.
Yeah,
we're clearly right into Grant Silverman's sweet spot. We need to put more. We should maybe do a Sting album now.
Yeah, but I say it again because I'm, although I like to think I've got really eclectic tastes in music. I still tend to be a little bit, I like what I know and I know what I like kind of thing. Yeah. And I love the fact that you are bringing new things to the table, and this being one of them. And it's like, okay, it's not quite a Hajira epiphany, but it is like, okay, well, this is going on to my, these are one of my favorite albums.
Cool. Yeah. Well, particularly if it's been a Hajira epiphany.
that too. Oh dear. Yeah, we've had too many beers in the pub tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, we have absolutely. So that was the first appearance of Dave Grohl. Big friends, big mates, and in fact, for you rock fans out there, you will know that they're such mates, him and Grohl, that they formed a supergroup together. I don't know if you know this.
No.
And it's really, if you like this, you will love the one-time only getting together of John Paul Jones, Josh Homme, and Dave Grohl. So John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin on the bass, Josh Homme on lead guitar and singing, and Dave Grohl on drums with vocals as well. They formed a band called Them Crooked Vultures, and they brought out an album, I think it's of the same name. Andrew Slessor's in the audience. Andrew reminded me, as Them Crooked Vultures is the name of the album, the name of the band. Oh my word. Oh my word. And the legend has it that they were in the studio. Dave called and said, "What you doing? I'm in town. I'm just faffing about in the studio. Let's make a record." Okay. Yeah, but there's only two of us. And he's like, "You've got, I don't know if you know this, but the Queens of the Stone Age universe is actually made up of a lot of bands. Like, for instance, he was one of the co-founders of Eagles of Death Metal and still
Right.
plays drums with them. Josh is the drummer occasionally. Dead End Friends. Dead End Friends. I think that's a track off the album, isn't it? Yeah, amazing. Off that Them Crooked Vultures album. So they're in the studio and they said, right, well, I'll just call someone from the sort of Eagles of Death Metal, Queens of the Stone Age universe. And he's like, Dave Grohl said, I could call John. And he's like, John who? He's like, I could call John Paul Jones. And he's like, very funny.
Yeah, of course you can, mate.
Of course you can, mate. Yeah, absolutely. And he says in the interview, that's like me saying, I'll just give David Bowie a call, right? It's ridiculous. So, and he said, and he does this little, hey, John. Yeah, Dave. With Josh, yeah. Making a record. Making a band. Do you want to be in it? Yeah, wait a couple of days. Yeah, no problem. Bring all your gear. We're going to do it. We're going to cut it. Them Crooked Vultures.
Yeah.
Oh my word! What
On the subject
album.
of Dave Grohl, did you go to his little concert tour that he's just done?
No.
I forget what it's called now. Where he books out relatively small theatres, and he's got a drum kit and a guitar on stage, and he basically stands and a chair, and he stands and sits and talks to the audience, and then gets up and plays a song that matters at that point. And he talks about his journey and his life. And a couple of friends of mine, it sold out, as you can imagine, really quickly. But just really fascinating, interesting, creative individual.
Oh, yeah.
So I absolutely believe that, what we're going to call it? Crooked Vultures.
Yeah.
I'll just come up with that on the spur of the moment.
Yeah, spur of the moment. And oh my God, Dead End Friends is a standout track on that album. It's just, they just cut loose. It's Grohl at his finest, Homie at his finest. And John Paul Jones just soon doing some incredible work with multiple instruments. But anyway, we digress. So the fourth track on the album, man, we need to crack on. We need to motor. Is the brilliant If I Had a Tail.
Just before you start it.
Yeah.
This is my favourite track off the album, I think.
Oh, right.
Certainly
Okay.
one of my favourite tracks off the album. Do you want me to spoil it for you?
No, go on.
Is that no? You don't want me to? Yes, you do.
No, crack on. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm just going to say "Material Girl." Now play it.
Material Girl. Oh, is this going to ruin this track for the rest of my life? Is that all I'm going to be able to hear? Do you know who the guest is on this track? Rather famous chap.
No, go on. Who's
Alex
the
Turner from Arctic Monkeys?
Yes.
Who has Josh has produced their music. He produced some of their albums, and they recorded some of their music in his studio.
Right.
So they're big pals, and as a little favor thanks for producing our album, he said I'll come and get involved in your album, and he appears on this track, as does Nick Olivieri, the former bassist, and Mark Lanigan. Got your shoulder going there. Big David Bowie moment coming up in the chorus here.
Yeah, very much.
You can see Aladdin Sane standing. Yeah, but I think so. Yeah, that kind of. don't want to switch them off, Adam.
That's fine.
I don't want to put them off. Tears of pleasure, tears of pain, trickle down your face the same. I love that line.
It's a fantastic line.
It's a great line.
Fantastic line. It's really interesting, isn't it, that you see lyrics in songs like that, and you think to yourself, "Oh, someone's just written that," and then you think, actually, some of these are incredibly insightful, aren't they, about the human condition?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. He talks about the obsession of spending in a later song of finding expensive holes to bury things. I think that's really funny because it's kind of what we do in life, isn't it? Expensive places, buy the expensive thing, bring it home, and put it on in a little cupboard, and go, "Ooh, look at it in the cupboard."
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is If I Had a Tale. We then go on to track number 5, My God Is the Sun. It's the first single from the album. It was the one that they put out there as a bit of a marker. Brilliant. If you're into illustrated stories in any way, comic books or anything, and you're into maybe like manga or anime, or I don't know which one's which, a fantastic anime style video for this. It won awards. It's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And this is the amazing and very Queens of the Stone Age, My God Is the Sun. I mean, it just reeks of this band. It's just got all their hallmarks all over it. Actually, to me, it sounds a little bit, and it's to do with, I guess, him growing up. He grew up around a load of Spanish people. There's Spanish influence in there.
Yeah.
Mariachi band almost kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can hear that. I mean, I love the lyric in this. Kneeling, my God is the sun. I don't know what time it is. I don't wear a watch. I just love that kind of idea that you're sort of. You said about it being written and recorded in the desert. You get that feeling of living by a bigger clock than the clock on your. Yeah,
totally
lovely. These little vignettes that come out.
Yeah, absolutely. He had quite a tough childhood growing up because they were so remote out in the desert that he made a lot of imaginary friends, and he got into music quite early because there weren't a lot of people that lived around about him. So he was out in the desert making up stories. Quite a lot of the time, and thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. We then go into what's the next one? Calopsia.
Which kind of sounds a bit like sleeping sickness, doesn't it?
It does. The definition of the meaning of things appearing more beautiful than they are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Rather like ourselves on this show, you mean?
That we could change the name of this to Calopsia.
Yeah, we could, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could. Another unusual track. Beautiful, his voice here, I would say.
You can so hear the Bowie influence, can't you?
It's dripping in it.
Yeah.
So this chorus has got Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails singing with Josh Homme on it. So the more crackly voice is Trent Reznor. What a track. What a track. To have that punk thrash noise in amongst all the... And I like the way they go back into the dream sequence. I love that.
It's interesting because because you've got like a minute and a half of that at the beginning. When I was younger, my reflex would be to skip the track because I like
Yeah.
but you miss a real gem. And again, I love the I love the lyrics on this. I love those little vignettes, copycats in cheap suits, all playing it safe, and things like that. Just so cool, so cool. And you were a new romantic, and I was kind of a new romantic as well. That was us, copycats in cheap suits.
Copycats and cheap shoots. Cheap
with,
shoots.
With a flock of seagulls haircut.
Well, I was channeling my inner David Sylvian. I think I've told this story before. So we it's just hilarious, and looking back, although I don't have a great relationship with my father, I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. There you go. I'm sorry because I lived in a council estate in Glasgow, and I was walking about like David Sylvian.
Naturally,
I had
thin tie, white shirt, suit with narrow cuffs at the bottom.
Yeah, but also it was what was going up here that was the concern, which was the David Sylvian hair, but the front dyed bleach blonde with sun in, just the front.
Well, that's perfect. That's perfectly normal, Eric.
Right? Yeah, so that's perfectly normal. But then the thing that happened in our school, which I'll never forget, and I say to people and they go, "What?" I don't know who started it, but we all had the front of the hair, just the front big mop, the big David Sylvian mop, dyed bleach white blonde. And my hair when I had hair was sort of dirty blonde, bleach blonde. But then take maybe 100 hairs and get some carbon paper.
Ah, yes.
And run it along the hair until you get the blue, the green, the pink, or the yellow stripe. And then do that 5 or 6 times. That's how I cut about. What on earth?
But man, you were cool.
Man, it was so cool.
So cool, Eric.
So cool.
And that hasn't changed, let's be honest.
It's so changed. So that was Calopsia. We're now on to an absolute rock ripper featuring Dave Grohl, Nick Olivieri, Mark Lanegan, Trent Reznor. Everybody's in this one, and Sir Elton John. And it is
not quite everybody. They haven't got that fantastic bass player.
That fantastic bass player
from just south of Aberdeen.
Just south of yeah, exactly. This is Fair Weather Friends.
Is there anyone out there? Or am I walking alone? Well, I turned around and found that you'd gone before the first train could fall. It seems every single time I was bleeding, broken promises that never came true. So long before the dawn, when the sun is gonna soar. So are you. Get some back in life. Lost some words
fantastic. I mean, a
Makes me
proper,
a bit teary.
proper rock anthem. Really, really good. The sound isn't great though. I think either it's the speaker's not close enough to your mic, and it's kind
Oh,
of
the
coming
sound
in,
from here. Yeah.
No, the sound that they've done is all right.
Let me see. I wonder if I'm on the wrong.
Do you see what I did there?
I might be on the wrong audio.
Damning with faint praise.
I loved it. It was very good. It was beautifully done.
It's all right.
Yeah. So we're not hearing it too great. Okay, fair enough. It's a shame. So, but the fact is, you shouldn't be listening to this album on this show anyway. You should be going away, getting yourself a bit of vinyl, a CD, or on your old iPhone or Android, and belting it out some good quality speakers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Absolutely. And you know, this has been, I love the fact that you're guiding through this journey. So, you know, this is a band that you're comfortable with, and I'm completely novice at. And this is just, it's a wonderful album, and it has really, a bit like Hajira, it has really kind of impacted me.
Seriously, this is incredible. This is a moon landing for me.
Well, it's a moon landing for me, mate. Absolutely.
I came into this thinking this is going to be one of them.
You thought this is going to be an OK Computer, a Radiohead thing, did you? No, not at all. Absolutely not at all. Because the whole Radiohead experience, I felt that there was a pomposity to that.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they were trying to be artistic and be deep and meaningful. And I don't think that Homie on this is trying to be poncy and deep and meaningful. I think he's just expressing himself, and it just happens to be that it is deep and meaningful.
Wow. Cool. Love it. We're now on to, so that was the amazing Fairweather Friends. It's just amazing that
sailing.
Smooth Sailing. Distorted Interference starts off with lyrical genius such as I blow my load over the status quo. Things like that. Yeah, just a fantastic song. Really clever.
Yeah, he's done it right this time, Sarah.
Yeah, he's done okay.
Yeah, give the man a pizza.
You're right about the soundtrack to a film. It's just you can taste the sand in the air, can't you?
Yeah, this is Kill Bill.
Yeah, it's Kill Bill.
Yeah,
proper little church out in the middle of the desert.
Cowboy boots, you know, focusing on those with the spurs at the back, clunking up the steps, you know.
What do we got, son? We got ourselves a dead bride, Daddy. Oh, ha, ha, ha. If you put this on some good speakers and turn it up, you can actually feel Dave Grohl's drumming in your chest. They've cranked the drum tracks up so much you can actually feel it in your chest. It's fabulous.
Nice.
Sarah and I saw them, and I don't know what is the dates. What does the date say on the back of that shirt? Can you see it? No.
Go towards the mic a bit. 2017, 23rd of November 2017.
So we saw them in Edinburgh for their tour for the Villains album, which is worth a listen to as well. Their last record that they put out. And they did all of these songs. And, you know, it's always a worry, you know, how are they going to do a song like this and actually pull it off live? It was better. They're actually, he said, we're a live album that makes records. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A live band that makes records.
Yeah. I love it when that's the case. You know, one of the things that I find really not exactly offensive, but really disappointing is when bands can't perform live, because that's what music is all about, really. And like we said about the Talking Heads stop making sense, you know, that's the best example of a band that, you know, we're going to deliver this to an audience and get all of the kind of the nerves and the excitement of doing that, and then we're going to package that up and give that to people. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if they can do this sort of thing live, then brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
They blew the I think it was Sarah was at Corn Exchange Maybe not. I can't exactly remember. It's written on the back of the T-shirt, but they blew the roof off. They blew the roof off, and I'll tell you what, Homie must. If that was a world tour they were doing, he must have lost stones in weight because he worked so hard for the crowd. Incredible. They put a lot of time and effort into.
It's lovely when you see that, isn't it? I
Yeah.
went and saw Rod Stewart in concert. I don't know.
Did you think he was sexy?
10 years ago, I did, and I did like his body as well. Yeah, and what was amazing that here's a guy that was in his early 70s, and he was up on stage 2.5 hours, not a break, running around, kicking footballs into the audience, and doing his thing with the microphones. That absolutely outstanding. And I like Rod Stewart. I'm not the biggest Rod Stewart fan in the world. I like Rod Stewart though, and it was just fantastic to see somebody giving so much to the audience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's brilliant. And that's what you want, isn't it, right? That's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
The penultimate track is the quite creepy, I think, I Appear Missing. Fabulous, but quite creepy. This would be in a sort of horror film.
Gone very quiet again.
Has it?
Yeah.
Maybe something's cutting out then, because it's deafening in here.
Turn it down a bit and move the speaker a bit closer to the microphone.
Turn it down. What, for the last track? Any better? No.
That's better.
Maybe I've got noise cancelling on or something. Let me check this. Noise suppression.
Pieces were stolen from me. Dare I say, give it away.
I love this track. I think this is perfect. This album, I absolutely adore it. We're moving into the last track.
Is this your favourite track then? I Appear Missing.
No, I've decided never to try and pick a favourite track from this album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've decided never to pick a favourite because
is that
then
just this album, or is that albums in general?
No, I've got some favourite tracks on some albums, and I've got tracks that I've even got albums that, embarrassingly, I'm finding through this show that, oh, I know that album. No, I don't. You've only ever played 2 tracks from it, the 2 that you like.
Yeah, I'm finding that quite a bit. Actually.
Yeah. So I Sat by the Ocean, Vampire of Time and Memory, I Had a Tale, My God is the Sun, Keep Your Eyes Peeled, Calopsia, Fair Weather Friends, Smooth Sailing, I Appear Missing, and Like Clockwork. They're my favourite tracks on this album.
Okay, so quite limited then, really.
So we're into the last one, and into the last few minutes of the show. This is the title track, Like Clockwork. Slow and melancholy start.
Everyone, it seems, has somewhere to go. And the faster the world spins, the shorter the lights will glow. And I'm swimming in the night, chasing down the moon. The deeper in the water, once received, my dear, is purely for show. Because not everything that goes around comes back around, you know. Holding on too long is just a fear of letting go. Because not everything that goes around comes back around, you know. One thing that is clear, it's all downhill from here.
Bit of Wings in there, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, a lovely, 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 lovely track. Really
Brilliant, brilliantly performed, brilliantly written. What a great bookend to the end of it. And they could have ended on a banger, but they end on a musically brilliant, brilliant track. This has been a joy to go through this, and it's been a joy to actually find out that you enjoyed this week.
Yeah, well, it's been a joy for me. So I must be honest and say that the week off that we had, I spent that whole week listening to Sting.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Because I had I'd done some research and I watched some videos of him speaking about it, and I love that. What's his name? The posh stand-up comic with a beard.
Posh stand-up comic with a beard.
Oh, hang on. I was watching him the other day. No, can't remember his name. Smith, something Smith. Anyway, he said about Sting. He said, very handsome, a twat, but handsome. and you know, he is a bit of a knob, Sting, but incredibly talented and a fantastic songwriter. So I really enjoyed kind of exploring the Sting thing for an extra week.
Yeah, cool.
And then I got into this fearing it was going to be another Radiohead experience for me, and it's unfortunate because you begin with an expectation that you're not going to like it, and you try to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy often. And so I kind of put it on, and that first 3 bars, I thought, oh no, actually, this could be all right.
This could be all right. Yeah, you're an interested little thing, aren't you?
Yeah, and it really has been a fantastic eye opener. Fantastic eye opener.
Hey, read that. Job done, I would say. When we sat down to make this little show, look at that. What a beautiful tribute.
Yeah.
Let's print that up on T-shirts.
Yeah, well, thank you, Andrew. And you know, we just began this because, as we probably said many times before, we ended up texting each other in the evening going, oh, and how about this track? And how about this track? And we thought, oh, we'll do this live because everyone's got this kind of passion for some music. And I love the fact that we've done some, we've gone from deep stuff, Radiohead, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, okay?
Yeah,
deep stuff through to George Michael, which it actually is deep, but not. You don't think it is necessarily when you start. And we've had lollipops, we've had concept albums, we've had a huge breadth of stuff, and each time it's been an education at either it's some good songs, but actually it's quite shallow, to some albums which have been have redefined Hajira redefined me as a person.
Holy
it's just fantastic. Absolutely.
Well,
no, it wasn't
on that bombshell. It wasn't what?
It wasn't Jack Whitehall.
Who is he then?
Simon Evans. That's who it is.
Simon Evans. Do I know Simon Evans? Who's Simon Evans? Simon Evans. Just let me check this out. Just talking about. So on that bombshell, I know Simon Evans. Yeah, he's hilarious. Yeah, he's a very funny, very clever chap. A twat, but a nice, good-looking guy. So where it's the baton is now handed over to you. Where are you taking us next week?
I'll just take that.
Well taken.
So oddly, I was cooking dinner the other night, and I went into the kitchen, and I tend not to listen to the radio. I tend to listen to things on iTunes. Mm-hmm. So my wife listens to and we got one of those Bluetooth speaker radio things in the kitchen. So I was about to cook dinner, so I switched that on to pair my phone to it to listen to this album.
Right.
And what should come on but another album that were a track? And my wife walks in and she says, "Oh, are you doing this album this week?" And I said, No, we're not. And she said, "Well, you should do that maybe." So
I'm intrigued. Where are we going?
So Queens of the Stone Age, Clockwork, is a Red album.
It is a Red
What's
album.
the most famous Red album?
Most famous Red album.
Yeah, the cover of it is red.
The cover of it is red. Is it a U2 album?
It isn't a U2 album.
The most famous
American soft rock band.
American soft rock red. Bon Jovi?
No, although that would be a good guess. Slippery When Wet is a Red album. But no,
absolutely.
not that.
I don't know. Aerosmith?
No. Toto.
Toto. Oh, this is going to be fun. I know one song.
Yeah.
And you know what that is?
Yeah, you don't know. You know more than one song. And they're all on this album, the ones that you will...
Serious? Oh, I'm super excited. So what is the name of the album?
It's Toto 4.
Toto 4.
Now, it may well be, because, you know, we've had some nasty realizations, haven't we, as we've been doing this show?
Yeah.
You know, we did Lenny Kravitz's Mama Said, because it's full of great tracks and he's a mega talented musician. And actually, it was not really very good. It was a bit shallow. And we did, what else did we do? We've been quite lucky, actually. We did Brothers in Arms, although that was Tim, because you couldn't make that one.
That's right.
And that was, except for one track, that was shite, frankly. And we did The Raw and the Cooked, you know, that was everywhere. And that again was quite shallow.
That's right.
But equally, we've had some where we've gone, oh, loads of good songs, like Jagged Little Pill, where we thought, that was brilliant. So this, I don't know whether even I'm going to like it.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's what we should start doing, is just pick a random album. I mean, so you haven't listened to this all the way through?
I have.
You have?
But in exactly the same way as I had with Rumours. You know, so I know all the songs on the album, but with Rumours, I knew all the songs on the album, and actually it turned out I didn't know any of the songs on the album. And this, I know all the songs on the album, but maybe I won't.
Wow.
There's certainly... Maybe this will be a disappointment or a lovely surprise.
There's nothing that 100 Men or More could ever do.
No.
Exactly. I'm super excited.
Is that rain behind you?
It is, absolutely.
No, just saying, Simon, no, that's not happening. Really, it's not.
What did he say? Sorry. Hold on.
Amnesia.
Amnesia.
Yeah.
Right. I'm super thrilled. I think I know. I think I only know. I catch rains down in Africa, but I quite like their sound. I like what they do, and I'm looking forward to it. Toto 4 it is. I'm going to get into it.
Let's see what happens. And
I'm driving Mrs. Doyle to a night out with the girls tonight in town. I've got a half an hour drive and a half an hour back myself, so I'll be half an houring Toto 4 coming back myself tonight.
And actually, we should do some Oasis. So I hated Oasis, absolutely hated Oasis, as you know, Eric. But it was one of those albums. The first one, What's the Story, was one of those albums that was everywhere at the time.
Yeah, it was.
And
I have to say, I was never a fan, but I recently interviewed Alan McGee, the guy that signed Oasis.
Right.
The guy that, so in 1994, I think it was, he was at King Tut's in Glasgow, and a van arrived and a bunch of Manx jumped out and started arguing with the bouncers, and he was walking out, and he knew the owner at King Tut's, the famous live venue in Glasgow. I used to hang about in King Tut's, and I know exactly where he was standing talking to them, and he came out and he went, "What's going on here?" And this guy turned round, and Alan looked at him, and he went, "We've come all the way from Manchester, and they said we've not got a booking, and we're supposed to be playing here tonight." And he's like, give me a minute. And he went upstairs and he said, "How long is it until the next act on?" It was like Leatherface or something. And they're like, "An hour." And he's like, "Will you let these guys play 4 songs tonight?" And he said, "I watched this guy walk across the floor and instantly knew I had to sign him. Instantly knew. I got a vibe that I had to sign him to Creation Records. They didn't have a deal. They'd never heard of a deal. They didn't know what a deal was. And I drafted up a contract, and the next day I signed them, and he stayed with them through 25 million album sales. and someone asked him when we were doing the live Q&A at the OGV tap room. Someone said, "How much money did you make off of Oasis?" And he said, "Well, you do the maths. We sold CDs for 15 quid. By the time we paid everyone, we had £7.50 to split between me and Oasis. I got 20% of that. We sold 25 million."
Whoa.
Mm.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. But he also
however, I mean, I believe the expression about less so about Noel, who, let's be honest, is just a grumpy sod. But Liam, that is a face you would never tire of punching, isn't it?
Correct. But I have to say, in my research for that, and I'm driving to interview him, I listened to Oasis and Primal Scream and My Bloody Valentine and The Cramps and all the band that were on Creation. And I have to say, Oasis did some cracking tunes. Like properly cracking tunes.
Yeah, they recycled the Beatles.
do you know the funny story about there's a brilliant YouTube clip where Josh Homme and Troy Van Leeuwen for Queens of Stone Age are sitting, rock stars, leather jackets, biker jackets, sitting there, quiffs and all that. And the girl that's interviewing them is holding up cards and getting them to answer quickly. And it's like coffee or tea. And they're very, very accommodating. Coffee, tea for him, coffee for me. Oasis or Blur, and they both burst out laughing. And he says, "I've got a funny story about Oasis." He said, "I was at a party in LA, and there was a big, massive buzz at the door because Oasis had just walked in, and it was at the peak of them being huge." And Liam walks in, "All right, everybody, all right."
Yeah.
And walks straight over to Josh Homme and goes like that, "Hey, we should do a track together." And he said, "Why?" And he went, "Because we're the biggest band in the world, and you're quite good as well." We're the biggest band in the world, and you're all right too. And Josh went, "Well, thank you. High praise indeed."
Oh yeah, I love that.
Needless
I
to
mean, I would have Blur any day over and above Oasis any day.
I'm at the point where I've got Oasis tracks that I love. I've got Blur tracks that I love. I think the Universal is one of the best tracks ever written. Damon Albarn is a genius, but I do think there are some phenomenal Oasis tracks, and maybe it's worth maybe we should do a little Oasis one Oasis, one Blur, one Oasis, one Blur.
We could do that. We could do that.
But we have to focus because next week we are doing Toto 4.
Yeah, fantastic. So
been a great
Eric,
day.
mate, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This absolute eye opener. And thank you to everybody. I like your wife. She's all right. She is. Look at that. Blur. Yes.
Yeah, she's a massive, massive Blur fan. But I'll also see her, jiving around to the odd, "You gotta roll with it. You gotta take your time." I'll see her.
And in the words of, it was Fran Healy, wasn't it, that said, "What's a wonder ball anyway?" in one of his songs. I like him. Scottish guy, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway,
just go back to singing about "Why Does It Always Rain on Me?"
What? Why indeed? Why does it always rain on me on the plains in Africa?
In Africa, let's do that. Focus on that.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody with all of your fantastic comments and questions. It's been a real joy this week, and see you